honor the time and the energy and the efforts of so many people. My name is Pastor Ari Douglas, they, them pronouns, pastor of Portsmouth Union Church. I am so honored to be able to lead these people in the end of what has been nearly 2 decades of dreaming and planning and building and now housing. It is an exciting time. So we give thanks to the movement that is around us and in us and through us, that gives us the fire and energy to not just do Portsmouth Commons, but to do things like this throughout Portland and throughout Oregon, to truly be the hands and feet of the Spirit that calls us. Amen. I'd like to thank a number of people, but I'd first like to start by thanking the Cowlicks, whose land this is original, upon whose land this church sits and these commons sit, and for the many other tribes that have gone through this land and been part of this land and live here now, today. So, this grandchild of an Ozo, Missouri woman would like to thank the Cowlicks for that. Amen. I'd like to take a moment to thank Tony Jones. Tony, where are you? Tony is a project manager for Home First. He has worked tirelessly to help Portsmouth Union Church realize our dream of opening low-income, veterans-focused housing that supports the community and helps to answer the challenge of houselessness in Portland. We have been in many meetings together and far more emails. And so I thank you, Tony. We'd also like to thank the Columbia District Church Extension Society for the multiple grants, as well as time and support you have offered and given. We are grateful for the support of the Oregon-Idaho District. And there are many other people that we would like to thank. So for everyone who has been involved in this in any manner, just in case I've forgotten to mention you, thank you so much. And now a word from your governor, Governor Keenan. What's that? Got it right? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. We are. Thank you, Pastor Douglas. It's lovely to meet you. Welcome to North Portland. It's nice to be back in the neighborhood. It's good to see so many folks over the years who've been working on this project. When I received the invitation that this was happening, I was like, I gotta be here. Because of the commitment of this community and how long the journey to get to this housing is a story of persistence, it is a story of love, and it's a story of hope, and it's a story of partnership. And that's why I'm here. When I became involved with this project, when I represented this part of the state when I was in the legislature, the enthusiasm of this congregation and this community is saying we should build housing on our property. And we have a commitment to this community. It is part of who we are to make sure our members of our congregation, but our neighborhood have a place that they can afford to live. The work that you have done here to provide shelter and now long-term housing is just phenomenal. And I think we all know it shouldn't have taken this long.
Yeah.
Well, you know, thank you for paving the way. Because for the churches and the other faith organizations that are doing this today, you have made it easier for them. So thank you. When I was serving as speaker, I was inspired by what you were doing, and frankly a little angry that it was so complicated. So even in places like 2021 legislative session, we passed bills like House Bill 2008 that said if you're a church that can provide long-term affordable housing, you can keep your tax exemption. Senate Bill 8, which said, let's just make this easier to do. Let's, if it's not zoned for housing, it should be zoned for housing. Let's just make it easier. You have a partner in the state right now to try to get more housing, because we know that it's not just about providing shelter. There has to be a place for people to go who are moving from homelessness to shelter to housing. And you are doing all of that in this community. You are providing that light at the end of the tunnel, so thank you. And we have more to do. I know many of you are connected with Levin. Thank you. Who are the 11 folks in the room? Thank you. You inspire me. I hear you. We will be back in the February session asking the legislature to invest more for housing development. That is the #1 priority for the session. I know you worked hard to get redevelopment funding that didn't fully get realized in the session. There were a lot of things going on. But we do need to put more money on the table for redevelopment and for organizations who are ready to go, who have that mission in their organization to help their communities to build more housing. So I can tell you I will lead you in those conversations with the legislature in February, saying we need to spend a lot of money, take that one-time money that's sitting in reserves and say we need more housing. We need more housing like Portsmouth Commons everywhere across the state. And I know that the faith community will step up with their surplus property to be part of the solution, and I will be there with you every day to do that. So thank you for doing all of that. And with that, I just want to say congratulations. You got here? And Jules and Andy, who were in that very first meeting, I just love you guys, so thank you for what you're doing. So back to you. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Jayapal.
Hey everyone, it is so good to be here and to see so many familiar faces. Governor, thank you for your words. You probably don't remember, but you introduced me to this church community back in 2018 or 2019 when you reached out to me, and I think you connected me with the person I was introduced to as the mayor of St. John's, Tom Stubblefield, and then to this community. So thank you for that. I have a great deal of imposter syndrome standing here because I brought no funding to the table. I brought no nothing to the table. I'm working on it. So for those of you who I have not yet met, I am Sushila Jayapal. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Commissioner for North and Northeast Portland, including right here. As you probably know, the county does not currently fund the development of housing. But I think the work that you're doing, and I've met with Levin, I've met with EMO, to talk about the work that faith groups are doing to do the pre-development work to create what we all know is the most important piece in solving our homelessness crisis, and that is affordable housing. So I'm going to be brief. I really just want to thank you for this decades-long effort. I am so excited about what has taken shape here, and know that you have a partner in the county, even if we really have to do a little bit of poking and prodding to get the county to see that it has a role to play here as well. So again, thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now I have the honor of welcoming all the former pastors of Portsmouth Union and, we had a sign there. University Park Methodist Church to come forward and give some of the history of what dreaming and building like this has been. So Jules and Andy sharing Anyone else that I might have possibly missed? No? I don't think so. Okay. Okay.
Let Sherry go first. Alrighty, so in August of 2021, I came on as interim pastor of this congregation. And when I heard about PUC, I thought, what an amazing group of people. They're doing all of these things. And so I said yes, and I came on. And once I got here, I learned something that was outside my toolbox that would be part of my duties here. And that was that I would take part as being part of the owners team here at PUC. And now you have to understand, I knew nothing. I showed up for the first meeting in sandals with bare toes and no hard hat. And the project chair at that point was very gracious and informed me that I needed a hard hat and that my toes needed to be covered. So being me, I thought, I don't want a white hard hat. That's so boring. So I got a blue one. Much to the staff workings, well, let's just say I had a couple of chuckles at that. What I saw in that year and a half, because I was here until the end of January this year, and then Ari took over. What I saw was a group of people that were the most resilient, the most persistent, the most giving, the most loving of any people I've ever seen. And I have done a lot of ministry. And I saw that here. I saw you give your heart over and over again, even in times that weren't so great. Even in times where we had to stop and talk about the delays. Even when we had to say, this is not working, and it's costing us more than we can possibly imagine. I remember Stephanie driving down the gorge and pulling over and doing a Zoom call from my car, and I think you were on the road too, and talking about this. And you know what I got out of every single one of those meetings? What I got out of every single one of those meetings was this. This was so important. This was so necessary. And this group loved so much that they weren't giving up for anything. And that's exactly what I saw. And I was always aware that I inherited this dream.
I'm so sorry.
And it was such an amazing dream. And the hardest thing I ever did was to realize that I wouldn't be here for the rest of the dream. But then I met Ari. And I understood that I was handing off this dream to someone who would hold it gently, with love as much as the love had been before. And I also understood the resilience of this congregation. That you would work to make this happen. And so what I have to say to you today is, well done. Well done for that resilience. Well done for that persistence. And well done for the way you love. Thank you.
It is so good to be back standing in this spot after a number of years away. I'm Jules. I use she, her pronouns. I'm one of the former pastors here. And, friends, this is for the church. I know it was 3,198 days ago that we made the decision to do this. Okay? It's a long time. And here's what I remember. People have already spoken to the difficulty of the process, to the ways in which, you have changed state law, you have changed city code, you have led the way for, there are 68 congregations doing this work across the state right now. And many more who don't know about, right? But what I remember about this process is that when we began, it was because each person in this church said, I know someone or I have been someone who has needed this housing. And so over and over again, I remember the conversations we had. It got really hard when we were starting. We had no idea what we were doing. We would say, but what about Mike? What will happen to this person that we've been in ministry with? What if we had housing? What if we didn't just have to give away food? What if we didn't just have to visit people in the camps? What if we didn't just have to let people use our bathroom? What if we didn't just have to have our doors open as much as possible? What if we didn't just give away used clothing? What if we didn't just have to do that? And we would name the people and the faces who would benefit. And so I just want to say to you, that is how we do this. That is why I think faith communities can do this, is we know our neighbors, we know ourselves, we know the stories, we are on the street, we know people, and we know what people need because we talk to them, and we pray with them, and we love them. And so I just want to say thank you for doing that, listening, because we can talk about housing, but it's not about housing, it's about the people who get to live in the housing, right? I won't go on much longer, but I do know that in the work that we do in the Loving Community Land and Housing Coalition, I am noticing a huge amount of resentment, vitriol, division in our communities because of fear of houseless people, fear of people who are being displaced, a misunderstanding about what the root causes of this are. And so I just want to say, that's the fight that we have to fight here. We have to keep building the housing because we have to keep loving people, and we have to keep helping one another to not be allowed to alienate and make other people the enemy just because they don't live inside, right? Amen. So thank you for loving people. Thank you for loving one another. I know this has been a huge journey. I apologize for my part in it. I know Andy probably would apologize as well. Thank you, just for leading in this and for continuing to lead. Well done, good and faithful servants. I hope you have beautiful relationships with the folks that are going to come into this housing. What a gift you are to them, and they are going to be to us. And so just thank you. It's so good to have been able to walk with you as part of that.
Jules. I'm Andy Goebel. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the other of the founding former pastors of Portsmouth Union Church. And I now serve as the executive director of All Good Northwest, an organization committed to sheltering and housing individuals experiencing houselessness. So I carry on this work in a different context. I want to talk briefly about the story of the beginning of this church. Because the beginning of this church was actually two churches coming together. A church that I was pastoring at the time, who was kicked out of the building they were in, excluded from their home, and was in search of a home. And I was told I should meet this individual, Julia Nielsen, and that we might find some common ground, and we might find a way to work together. And I came and I first met with Jules, and I, in tears, told her the story of being displaced and not having a home. And she said, my little church, let me talk to them. Maybe we can figure out a way for you to come and use our space to give you a home. what ended up happening eventually is that these two churches who shared a home fell in love, I like to say got married, and became Portsmouth Union Church. And so this church has a history of providing a home for people who need one. What was also beautiful about that union is that our little church at the time was providing the only emergency severe weather overnight shelter in North Portland on a volunteer basis. And we were asking, how do we do more? We are doing justice and mercy, we're providing shelter, but how do we do something systemically? And in our initial meetings of coming together as a church, Jules said, we actually want to do this. We want to build housing. What if we did both? What if we sheltered and provided housing at the same time? And so we started doing just that. And this dream that Jules and I had, and I will name again what several people have named, it was incredibly difficult. I remember sitting in that office with Jules, sometimes laughing, sometimes yelling in anger, and sometimes in tears. This is too hard. This shouldn't be this hard. You're right, God. It shouldn't be that hard. but saying, we still need to do this. This needs to happen. And so I want to thank this church. I've heard the words persistence and resilience used, and I'm going to use a word that's in the parlance of my former vocation, and talk about faithfulness, because that is exactly what this church has shown. For the last 2.5 years, my wife and I live about a quarter of a mile down the road here. We have been in the ritual of walking every morning. And so we walk by this project, and we've watched it grow. We've watched the windows come in. We've watched it stall. We've wondered, is it ever going to happen? Is this thing ever going to open? And then there was progress again, and then we saw landscaping, and we saw all the work that's been done. And now I am so grateful for the faithfulness of this church to bring this project that is so necessary for our communion to fruition. So I just want to take just a couple minutes to thank some folks in particular who I'm grateful for. I'm thankful for the University Park United Methodist Church and the folks from St. John's Covenant Church that became Community Church, who came together on this dream. I want to thank the folks from Portsmouth Union Church, all of the developers, contractors, and builders for all of your faithfulness, our partners at Home First Developers who continue to say, it's going to happen, it'll happen, trust me, it'll happen. Folks from Do Good Multnomah who will be providing services here on site for the residents. The Lebanon Land and Housing Coalition for your tireless work in seeing this project through and many, many projects. And I want to thank those who represent the churches that will do this in the future, who are doing it now and will do it in the future, because we need this work to happen. I'm thankful that this is a model, and I'm thankful that it will continue, and I'm thankful that you two are going to help see it happen. So, thank you for your faithfulness.
Thank you, Sherry and Jules and Andy, for your years of work towards this. This has only gotten my last, 5 months. I almost forgot to thank another church. I'd like to thank St. Andrew's Episcopal Church for partnering with us in many ways in this process, helping us to clean apartments, helping in putting together these baskets that are welcome baskets to residents. Thank you. I would not have forgiven myself. I would not have forgiven myself if I had forgotten to thank you. So, yeah, thank you. All right, we are our last people that we'll be hearing from before we transition from here, from this space, out to the front of Portsmouth Commons to do a blessing and cutting of the ribbon. The last people that we'll be hearing from are our denominational representatives from at least the United Methodists, and I don't know if the regional minister sent someone in her lieu or in her stead or not, but come on up. Yeah.
Greetings, Reverend Erin Martin. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the pastor of Fremont United Methodist Church in Northeast Portland, formerly district superintendent of Columbia District, and I come bearing greetings from the United Methodist Church and Reverend Bishop Cedric Bridgeforth and the current superintendent, Reverend Tim Overton Harris. Before I read this beautiful letter on their behalf, I just wanted to say it was my pleasure to journey alongside Portsmouth Union to be at the marriage, but also to ache over the ways in which our denominations lacked the imagination and courage, and often in the ways of the ones who follow Jesus, who was born outside, that we've become institutions that no longer knew how to get out of the way until most recently. So I'm really proud to be here and to offer these greetings on behalf of our current bishop and superintendent. Dear friends, I bring greetings to you from Bishop Cedric Bridgeforth, the leadership of the Oregon-Idaho Annual Conference, and myself, Reverend Tim Overton Harris. We celebrate with you the opening of Portsmouth Commons Complex and the people and the work that brought it to life. I apologize that Bishop Bridgeforth and myself cannot be present with you for the celebration. Previously scheduled meetings in Idaho prevent us from joining you. Know that as you gather and celebrate, we are with you in spirit and holding you in prayer. In many ways, stepping out in faith to do this project has become a model and an inspiration for other communities of faith. I know that what you have learned and the ways you have proceeded with the project are invaluable now to other congregations in the United Methodist Church and across denominations as they seek faithful ways to use the resources they have to address the critical need in Portland and throughout Oregon and beyond, the need for decent and affordable housing. It has taken many people, many long years of prayerful work, a lot of groundbreaking labor, system testing behavior, and persistent pressure to overcome institutional roadblocks, church and government, to name just two. To get to this place, thank you for your perseverance and your tenacity. My hope and prayer that as people move in, and as the complex becomes home, the work you have done will be evident, and their joy will be evident, not only in their lives, but in the life of this neighborhood. Blessings on this special day, and thank you for showing us what is possible. Reverend Tim Overton Harris.
Thank you. Now, I invite you to join us in the front of Portsmouth Commons. Please use the door on the... Okay, I'm being told that door, which is not a door we ever use. Might as well be a wall, but go ahead and use that door, I guess. Then after the blessing and ribbon cutting, then we will come back in and have a bite to eat.